Imagine being imprisoned for the religion that you practice and for your identity. This is what happened to Muzaffar Davletmirov, who is a clerk in the Gabao region in Tajikistan. Muzaffar Davletmirov was imprisoned and arrested on July 26, 2022. His arrest was on false charges fabricated by the government based off of the Article 307 of the Tajik Criminal Code for public calls for extremist activity committed using mass media. And on August 3rd, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. His location remains undisclosed, and many attempts made by his family and journalists have not seen any answers by the government. The events leading up to his arrest. The government of Tajikistan began a crackdown on the Pamiri community, and this year saw the most brutal and most harshest of those crackdowns. And in May and June of 2022, three local leaders were killed as part of these attacks. And Davlatmirov, who happens to be an Ismaili Shia Muslim clerk, performed their janaza namaz or funeral services. And following this, the government, in retaliation, arrested him and passed down a sentence of 5 years, merely for practicing his religion. It was very interesting, and it raises the question as to if his trial was even fair, or if he was even given a lawyer to represent him, given that the period between his arrest, the period between his sentencing was just less than a week. The real reason for Davlatmirov's arrest include his open criticism of the government because of the crackdown on the Pamiri community. He has been a very influential and very loved figure in the Tajik community, and he refused to become a caliph for the state, as in imam or a religious leader who was state sponsored. He refused to be a puppet for the government, and this is what it got. And this is how it got to him. He was arrested, and there has been no news on him since then. He has been taken to a location, and everyone who's been trying to get in touch with him, who's been trying to get to know where he's located, has not seen any answers from the government. And there has also been a question raised as to whether his hasty trial has been because of the lack of evidence that his case has. A clear lack of evidence, because there has been no investigation done to even prove the facts that he's been charged with. Bruce Paneer, who's a Central Asia analyst and who also is a correspondent for Radio Free Europe, spoke with me, and he said that the government viewed him as a threat only because of how he reacted to the death of the 3 community members earlier in May and in June. The government wanted those deaths to be swept under the rug. They did not want anyone to validate those deaths. And because Davlatmirov performed their funeral services, he became a target and he got in trouble. And that led to the events that I described earlier, leading to his arrest right now. What has been done to bring attention to his case, to bring attention to the case of many of the Pamiris like him who've been suffering in the jails? The sad thing is that while there has been attention brought to his case, it has not been as much as a case, for example, in the West would have received. Some organizations have tirelessly worked to get attention to his case, and that include, for example, independent journalist Anona Sarkova, who through her channel is trying to bring attention to this case, is trying to share information with what is outside of Tajikistan. And it is very important to get out information outside the Gabao region, is because Mushfiq Bayram, who is a writer for Forum 18, spoke with me and described the region as a prison inside the prison. And this is how contentious and this is how tense the situation is in the region. People over there do not get to enjoy the freedoms that you and I in the United States get to enjoy. And therefore, it is very, very important to get attention, to educate and to bring awareness to these issues. Pami Daily News is another channel that is trying to bring attention to the case of Davlatmirov and the case of many Pamiri political prisoners. There has been an attempt made by Stefanos Alliance, which is a Norwegian alliance, and this alliance has made multiple attempts to try and contact the family in order to advocate for his release. However, the family has declined because of the fear that they have that the government is going to take a crackdown on their loved ones next, or on them for the matter of fact. The United States Commission on International Religious Freedom also took to Twitter to tweet about this case and to speak about it and raise awareness about the same. Right now is a very important opportunity in December right now, is because the UN Special Rapporteur, Mary Lawler, happens to be in Tajikistan, happens to be making assessments of the human rights cases in Tajikistan. And this is why it is important to bring to attention right now Davletmirov's case, and that is that he needs to be released. And we urge Mary Lawler and all international courts, international institutions, human rights advocates to follow this and to hold accountable the Tajik government. And I would like to read a message here for anyone that might be watching this, and it is: there is a crackdown on Pamiris in Tajikistan. It is the first step towards ethnic cleansing. The government needs to be held accountable. The world needs to know what is happening. Muzaffar Davlatmirov's only crime was being born as a Shia Pamiri Muslim in Tajikistan. His only crime was his identity. Muzaffar is a father, a husband, and a grandfather. He is a human and deserves fair treatment like any human would. He must be released now, and an investigation into the Tajik government's activities in the Gabao region must be conducted. They must be held accountable, and Davlatmirov must be released immediately. Thank you.